In this video, there's a lot of different things we gotta talk about. We gotta talk about the really tiny Valorant patch that just fixed bugs. We gotta talk about potential Valorant leaks that are really crazy, including a new mode and map changes. And we gotta talk about some under the radar fixes that kind of slipped through the cracks that Riot developers chime in on. So there's a lot we gotta talk about. But first, Valentine's Day is coming incredibly quickly, and you can be too with our brand new Manscaped partnership. You see, Manscaped will help you transfer your immortal in-game skill directly into the bedroom with their Weed Whacker 4.0. From sprays and creams to keep your goods fresh, to shampoos and body washes for your everyday use. I was actually mega impressed with both the Weed Whacker and the Lawnmower 4.0 being fully waterproof, so you can be performance ready wherever you are. But also lotions and creams that will have you smelling good and looking fresh in the places that truly matter. No more e-girls on Valentine's Day, and use code MILFs at the Manscaped checkout for 20% off your order and free shipping. Do it right now down below. Now, the Valorant patch that came out yesterday was rather small, so we didn't make an entire video about it. It was pretty hollow for the most part and just included bug fixes, and I know some of you are going to be disappointed about that, but the next patch should be quite large. We know that there are most likely going to be some big agent changes in the next patch, but I'm not entirely sure how Riot is going to approach it. They do have a lot of character changes that they want to push out, but I don't know if they will just push them all out at the exact same time, or if they will approach them patch by patch. Let me give you an example. They do have that yoru update like already packed up and ready to go, but at the same time, there are probably nerfs that they want to hit with a couple of characters. If I would actually have to guess, I would say Jet is at the top of that list potentially. I also think that they want to buff several characters or partially rework them in characters like Omen, Brimstone, or Phoenix. So there's a lot of characters that could move around, but I don't really think that they are going to have a big patch that they're just going to change everything, because then it's really hard to see what actually is impactful or not, right? If Yoru just suddenly gets crazy buffed, it's hard to know, is he better or do people just want to play him buffed? And if other characters get picked less because they're picking Yoru now, it's hard to know whether or not they're picking Yoru because he's better than the other characters, or if they're picking Yoru just because he's what's hot right now, right? It's very interesting how that works. And if you just dump a whole bunch of buffs or nerfs in the exact same patch, it can be complicated, but it will work itself out eventually if you give it some time. So typically how it goes is they will buff everything or change everything all at once, and then they'll cool off for several patches down the line while things kind of stable out, or they'll do it week by week. And I know what you prefer is going to be different depending on your personal preference. I can see the benefits to both. Doing it slow is probably more reliable for balance, but doing it all at once is way more exciting, right? It's a lot more fun. It feels like a freaking entire new season at times if like all of a sudden 5 characters get changed, and it could really spice up the meta, make a lot of characters that are not playable. So yeah, ultimately, I would highly suspect that Yoru changes will be on there, but as for the other characters, we'll have to wait and see. Definitely let me know what big agent you want to see buffed or nerfed. Let me know down below. Now, we always got to rely on our boy Mike to drop the spicy leaks when patch notes just kind of are lacking a little bit. And the first thing that we got to talk about is these potential icebox changes. Look at the B-site yellow change right here. Red being new, the yellow being old. And this is definitely gonna be interesting for sure. It actually looks as this is running parallel to the entrance from B attackers, which is very interesting because you don't get as much cover behind this box. It's a lot easier for attackers to clear this, right? Because before, attackers could, you know, potentially get peeked from both sides, and there's a pretty big area where a defender can hold and still be safe from the oncoming attacker angle. But now it's going to be a lot easier, in my opinion, for an attacker to take control of this. And I do think this is good because Icebox in particular, especially that B site, is very hard to attack at times, especially if you do not have a Viper. Taking control of things is very difficult. Fighting for yellow can be very difficult. Now, once you control yellow though, it is a really powerful position to play from So if you manage to plant on B, it can be very frustrating for the retakers, and I think that this makes it a little bit easier to retake as well. So it kind of makes, you know, taking that point easier, but getting retaken easier, which I think is good in both aspects. You know, I don't like it where it's very frustrating to take and it's very frustrating to retake. I think this is like a happy medium and a good combo, and I do really like this change, but I want to know your opinion about it down below. Now, he also gave us a little sprinkling of information about a future game mode. So basically, teams will compete by capture points. Both teams will race for the highest score. This is probably going to be control or capture the flag. Now, I'm not entirely sure how this will work because this seems like a pretty competitive mode, but I'm not entirely sure how spawns will work. I'm not entirely sure how eco will work. It's gonna be something very interesting in Valorant in particular. Been playing a lot of Halo, so they already have these modes, but Halo's a completely different ball game with very low time to kill compared to Valorant, and then Valorant has this eco aspect. You're not finding guns on the battlefield, so I'm really interested in how it's gonna work, but I'm always for just more competitive modes just being added to Valorant. I've always said that Valorant feels hollow in the game mode department, and I would love an addition to a very highly played mode that is more on the competitive side. I think it'd be really great, and you know, capture the flag does sound interesting. Don't know exactly how it would play out though, but you know, a version of capture the flag might be pretty fun. The last thing that we need to talk about is from a Riot developer stating that patch 4.02 actually fixed something that many people have been asking for, and it's the fact that windowed full screen has very similar latency compared to just full screen in the new patch. This means that you'll be able to play in that windowed full screen mode and most likely get like 99, if not the entire amount of latency for the full screen. Very, very close together. And for those of you who have decent computers, you're probably not going to notice it at all. And that's definitely really freaking cool because, you know, having it in windowed mode is just so much more convenient, right? Not having to alt tab, leave full screen, go back in. That's definitely frustrating and annoying, but it's just like a necessary thing that us gamers have to do. But if we don't have to do it, that's just a fucking plus to me. But of course, I'm gonna have to do more ample tests to know whether or not what they claim is true, but Riot's track record is pretty good, so I do think that that's a really great thing. And of course, go check out Manscaped and use code MILFS20 at checkout for 20% off your order and free shipping. Stop simping for some e-girls and get yourself a real girl instead down below.